Hi, my name is Sherry Black, and I'm making a card today by cutting this black cardstock. I'm going to cut it 9 3/4 by 4 1/4, and I'm making a little graduation hat card, and I'm going to cut that. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to score at 4.5. I think that's what I have down. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry if I'm telling y'all wrong. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and score this, and I'm going to end up folding this into the little square that looks like the hat. And I'm sorry I did lose some of the footage, but you can go on YouTube and find other people explaining different sizes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this cardstock by 4 inches by 3 inches. And this is going to be what I put the sentiment on, this part at the bottom. And I'm going to glue this on the bottom portion. And I've also cut another piece of paper in silver to fit on top of the hat part there. So that's what I'm doing. And you, depending on what size you make this, there's different sizes you can make. Go by that size. And I apologize that I didn't show you all step by step how I did this card. And these are some little die cuts that I had with words, and I just cut out a few words like congrats and I think best wishes. So I'm going to cut those out of my sparkly paper. And now I am going to take some thread, some embroidery thread that I had in the blue, and I'm using this tag that came off of a dress, and I'm just wrapping this around, so many times. You just pick how thick you want your little tassel to be, and I just go around and around, and then I'm going to clip this off and cut another piece that will slip underneath the top portion of the top, and I'm going to tie that in a knot, leaving a tail, and then that tail will go onto the hat. And then what I want to do is cut another piece of thread about a little over 3 times what this length is, and tuck it underneath, or 2 times I mean, and then just tie it in a knot. But I'm struggling right now to try to get the top portion tied off. So once I get this tied, I will tie that in a knot, leave a tail, and then I will tie another piece around below that to make like a little head part, and tie that in a knot, and then just at the end clip it at the bottom. So this is going to be my little tassel that goes on the hat. And it's taken me a few minutes to get to this. It takes a little while to get up underneath that part. I guess if I'd had a needle that might work better, but I was just kind of lazy and thought I could tuck it under. And then I'm going to just slide this off now, like I said, and I'm going to pull the top portion up, because that's going to be the part that hangs off my hat. And I'm going to clip the end. But first of all, I want to, before I clip that, I want to take another piece, like I said, and tie that around kind of maybe 1/4 inch down from the top, and tie that in a knot, and just kind of wrap it around a few times and do the best you can. Just tie that in a knot and then twist it around and tie it again in a knot. And I think that will be just right. You just got to kind of play with it. And I think my thread kind of got knotted up on me a little bit because I didn't get a needle. So if y'all have a needle nearby, use it for that top portion. Okay, so I'm tying it off real well. And then I'm going to tie it one more time. And then once you get it tied in a good knot and you feel like it's stable, then, like I said, have a good pair of scissors and clip down the end and just kind of pull it down a little bit and then clip the bottom and just clip it through all those pieces. And then it might be wise too, if you have a little comb, you could comb this out, because my thread was kind of kinky a little bit. And I'm going to tip the end and try to make it all even. And it's not perfect, but it's okay. I'm kind of trying to use the back of my bone file to kind of smooth it out, but that's not really doing that great. But so let me trim it one more time. I'm going to try to get it perfect, but nothing's ever perfect. Okay, I think it's good enough, I guess. This part took a few minutes. And I tried to wet it a little bit with some plain water to kind of help smooth it out straight, so it might dry a little bit straight. I don't know, it made it a little bit better, I guess. So now what you want to do is, I'm using a glue gun, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I want my center to be. And I'm going to cut out, I have this little hole punch. Oh, first of all here, I'm going to go ahead and trim the edges a little bit, because I had this just a little bit too big. And sometimes I eyeball things. I measure, but then I also eyeball it too and cut off what I think needs to go off. And then what I'm going to do is glue this on, and I'm using a glue gun, and I was going to puncture a hole through there, but I didn't want to mess with that, so I'm just trying to figure out where I want my tassel to hang. So I'm going to cut a little, I have a little circle punch, and I'm using that to cut out a little piece so I can glue this on top in the center. And I'm going to kind of measure to kind of see where I think the center might be. And I'm letting it hang off just a little bit. And I'm going to take my glue gun and just put just a little drop of glue in the center, and then I will put that little circle punch paper on top to hold that like a little button. And I found that this worked really well. And then once you get this glued, just go ahead and clip that portion, clip that other part off. And I'm using these little tiny scissors. They seem to work really well. Okay. And now I'm going to glue this down on top. And I'm using the glue gun. It seems to hold just fine. And I'm making this card for a friend of mine. Her name is Brianna, and she just got her bachelor's degree in science and in the medical, So I'm really proud of her. So I was thinking this would be a cute little card to make. They're having a surprise party for her tonight, so I think this is going to be awesome. I hope she likes it. So I'm going to get my inks out, and I'm using the blue that I have in one of my inks, or my different ink pads. And I'm going to just kind of brush the edges with this. And I just kind of want to put a little bit of color around the edge. And I thought that would look really pretty. And I use scrap paper for this kind of thing. Sometimes I use a paper towel, but whatever I have that's to keep my board from getting all inked up. So I had cut out these little words with some glitter paper, and I thought it was really pretty. So I cut out these little words that say congrats, but I'm really having an issue with my glue right now. So I end up having to use my little tiny bottle. It seemed I could get it to clear up better than the bigger one. And I do like to use this one for tiny little things too. So I'm going to glue this down on the bottom portion. And this card was, the white part was 4 inches by 3 inches. And I'm just gluing this down, and once I get this pressed out, use your bone folder and kind of just smooth it out. I think it's looking really cute. Okay, now let me get my words that I cut out with my little die cuts, and I'm trying to think about how I'm going to position them right now. I cut out a few words that I found that might be what words I would use. I'm trying to figure it out. I think what I end up doing is I'm going to use the best wishes and then the congrats, and kind of move it up just a little bit in the center. And then I was just trying to figure out how to lay it out. And then I'm going to write her name down below where it says congrats. And I think that'll look good. So, and that's one thing about that little tiny bottle of glue. That is so perfect for little words like this, especially little skinny things. You know, if you have little words you need to punch out and you want to glue them down, I find that this little glue piece works great. Now, I do recommend that you keep a little straight pen close by, because they do get clogged. But I learned a lesson. Don't leave your pen in your little bottle, because then it'll get glued in there and then it's really hard to get out. So I just keep one on hand, and it really does great for little tiny things that you want to glue. And I use the Scotch glue. It's really good. I like it. It does a really good job. And I like to have my glue gun, and I do use the Gorilla Glue. I really like it. It does real well. And I'm just going to glue these down, And then I'm going to, like I said, write her name below below the kind of below. I'm going to put it right below where I put congrats. And then I'm going to get out my glitter paint and make like a use that on the card. I'm going to make an envelope, a homemade envelope to go with this card. So I'll make sure that it fits. And I'm going to just find a paper that kind of coordinates with this card to make the envelope out. And I just got my little envelope die cutter machine or cutter, and I can't wait to use it for this. And I'll show y'all how to do that here in a moment. So now I'm writing her name with black ink, and I'm using my little sparkly glitter pens in the blue to go over the top of her name. And I'm just going to go ahead and write her name, and then I am going to make an envelope. And what I would do is measure out the sides of whatever your card is and measure from top to bottom. And whatever you come out with, allow yourself a little bit of leeway so it will fit in the card that you're going to make. And whatever the measurements come out to be, then that's what you're going to use when you get your envelope board out. And I'm going to get that here in just a moment. Oh, and first of all, before I do that, I always like to make a little name, put my name on the back that I made the card. And if you make cards, I would suggest that you do this so people can look back and say, oh wow, look who made this. And I like to use the sticky paper that you get at it's kind of like mailing paper. And I use that because it's already got the adhesive on the back, and you just peel that off and stick it on. So I really like this. So anyway, here's my card. It's finally finished. And let's go ahead and, make an envelope so it'll fit in the envelope. And I'm going to go ahead and get that together. Now here's my board. And I just got this. Now the only thing is I got this board cheaper. They have one that's black with the blue print, and this board was white or cream with the blue print, but it's really hard to read. You really need to wear some magnifying glasses because the colors, they just kind of go together, and you can get your halves mixed up with your fourths. Your 1/4. So anyway, I measured out that I wanted this card to be kind of like, I think it was like 5 by 6.5. And the measurements on the board, what you want to do, I figured that I need to cut a piece of paper at 9.5 by 9.5. And it'll tell you whatever size your card is, you go ahead and cut. So I'm going to I had this blue paper that I thought kind of matched with the colors. So I'm measuring out 9.5 by 9.5 and just cut that paper to that size. Then after you do this, you want to go ahead and stick it under that board, and I'm kind of slow here doing this. So, but yes, I think I cut this piece 9.5 by 9.5. Now, what you do is you slip your paper underneath the blue area, the little blue button there. And I really had a hard time reading this because, like I said, these colors, they really are so light and so tiny, you can get confused and you think that it says 1/4 inch, but it's really a 1/2 inch. So it took me a moment to really focus, because I just got this little board and I'm all excited about using it for the first time. So anyway, I measured out at 4 inches, and you only measure one time here. So I've got it lined up at 4 inches at that top portion there, and then I'm going to stamp, and then I take the bone folder. See, I had to double check. I know it's so tiny, and it was way cheaper for this one versus for the dark one. I wanted the dark one, but this one was a lot less. So anyway, get your punch it and get your bone file and press down and follow that line. Now you're going to turn it just like I'm doing here. You're going to go around that way, and then you're going to punch again, line that up, punch, and then you're going to crease that down to the end, turn, and then punch again, line that little arrow up with that crease, punch, and then run your bone file down that side again. I thought I didn't get it punched, but I did. And run that bone file down that edge until you get all the edges done. And then there's one more to do. Okay, now once you get that done, you just fold your creases, and you just make sure you press all those edges down real well, and use your little bone file to press down and get your edges sharp, and make sure it's all lined up perfect. And once you get this done, I used my little glue, my little bottle of glue, and I just made sure that I pressed everything real well to make sure it looked right. And then what I did is just look at those little side pieces and glue those side flaps, just glue on that edge. And I'm creasing it one more time to make sure, because I wanted it to be really pressed well. And so anyway, so get your glue and just put the glue down right on that edge like that, and that way you cover the right amount of glue, and just press it down. And then you do the other side the same way. Open that up, and then I just put a little line of glue a few times just to make sure it gets sealed well. And then flap that down and just press it down real well. And then I actually took the scissors and clipped off that middle part there. I don't know, I just kind of, well, I'm pressing it one more time. I'm making sure. But I'm gonna clip that middle part off right there, because I thought I don't know. I don't know why I do that, but I liked it like that. So now I'm gonna get my card and make sure it fits in there, which it does. And I probably made it a little bit too big, but it's okay because this card was tall. So I wanted to make sure I got it in there right. So it looks pretty good. And then, yes, there you go. I think it's looking nice. And then what I did is I'm going to get that same paper that has a sticky to the back of it, and I'm just going to cut off a little strip. And I really didn't measure. I just kind of cut the width that I thought I wanted. And I just wanted to make like a little strip of that to glue down. But I do hold it down to the paper to see about, eyeball it and see about how wide you want it. And I didn't really need it the whole width of the card, but just about that much, and cut that off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write her name and say congratulations, and just put whatever you want to say. And I also, like I said, I used my glitter glue to do like a little design around the area. And just like I said, write your sentiment down, whatever you want to say. Put down what you want to say, and then I got my glitter and did like a little design around around the edges. And I wanted to make sure I spelled her name correctly. Always make sure you spell the person's name right when you're going to give them a card. So anyway, just get this done, and you don't have to do this part, but since my card was blue, it's hard to see the writing, so I thought I'll just go ahead and use this paper and glue it down. And now I'm just going to do like a little design with my glitter glue and just make like a little swirly design around around that border there, just to give it a little extra interest. You really don't have to do all this stuff, but sometimes, the card was kind of simple, so I kind of wanted to just do some extra little stuff. And of course my glitter glue was stopped up, of course. So, but I think it's looking cute. And just put a dot in each middle section and do your little swirls in between. That's kind of what I do. And just let it dry well before you transport it, because that glitter glue takes a little bit of time. But this is the first envelope I've made since I got my envelope maker, and I'm so excited that it worked out great. The main thing is just measuring your card and making sure that it all, make sure you go by the directions, and you only have to measure that one time